Good evening, everyone. Good evening and welcome back. Welcome back to the PorscheCooled Podcast, the podcast where we talk about all things Porsche. My name is Michael Barth. You guys know me already. And Steve. Steve is here. Hi, Steve.
Good morning on this end. How are you?
Very well, mate. Very well. It's a Tuesday evening for you guys. If you're interested, I know you're listening to this on a Friday. Most of you. There's a lot of you who actually who listen to this almost straight away. Did you know that, Steve?
I'm not surprised, but it's funny because in Australia, the podcast, like I listen to the podcast, I know you send them to me early, but I generally listen through iTunes or whatever, Apple. Generally doesn't come up until Saturday morning for us.
Saturday morning?
Or for me. Yeah,
really?
Not Friday. Yeah.
It'll be late Friday. Late Friday.
Yeah, it doesn't appear until about Saturday, maybe about 9 o'clock.
All right. Well, I do it on UK time, but it's also based on California time. There's a method to the madness there. It's something I looked at, and it's a certain time, and I always do it at that time. So I don't know. I'm a bit superstitious sometimes, so I'm a bit weird now to change it. I just kind of leave it on the same days.
Yeah, right.
And I know a lot of people put podcasts up because I get them notifications for it in the UK and the US. A lot of people put podcasts up on Wednesdays. So I kind of like how we don't put it up on Wednesdays. And they put it up on Wednesdays because Wednesdays is apparently the big day for podcasts. But it's so close to Tuesday.
Why?
It's weird though because it's so close to Tuesdays and Thursdays. I think Tuesday's the second best day. Based on...
I wonder why Wednesday's the day. Because old school advertising, TV campaigns and newspaper kind of campaigns and all that sort of stuff, generally the big day was launch on a Sunday night. Sunday evening.
Really? I guess everyone's watching the Sunday night movie.
Yeah, I think so. In terms of TV. So that's
Amazon.
the biggest audience viewership kind of thing. That's when you'd launch.
Yeah, when I first started putting the podcast up, and I've done this from the very beginning, I think, from memory, there was a couple of sites I went to. I can't remember what they were called now. And it was basically they had the times to put podcasts up and the days to put podcasts up. And it seems a lot of people follow that because a lot of people put them up on Wednesday. And then Thursday, and then there's the time in the morning. I mean, the time that I put the podcast up on it's actually not a Thursday, sorry, it's a Friday. It goes up Thursday for Patreon members, which I'll get onto in a second. But on a Friday, it goes up at 1 o'clock GMT, 1 o'clock London time, actually, not GMT. Because we're British summertime now, 1 o'clock London, which is 5 a.m., I think, Los Angeles time. And some people say that it's better to put it up at something like 4 a.m. Los Angeles time.
An hour earlier, right.
Yeah, so early in the morning so it gets people before they go to work. I don't know. The listeners are going, this is really boring, talk about Porsche. Okay, let me touch on a few things, Steve. You know, I always like to start this with the usual. And then we'll get on to what's been happening in the week. I just want to do a shout out to 2 new members on Patreon. If I can see my screen, because my microphone's in the middle of my face again. I've got to get a new microphone too. This is the other problem. 2 new members on Patreon, and I'm going to pronounce this incorrectly, and I really apologize. Gier, I think it's Gier, is just joined, and also Danny. I don't know what.
And go, Danny.
Yeah, thank you both for joining, and thank you for supporting the podcast. For those of you who don't know what I'm talking about, this is patreon.com. You go to patreon.com/PorscheCooled, and you can join starting at $2 or $5 or $10 a month, and it just supports the podcast, helps us keep talking. It was about buying equipment, which we still haven't bought any yet, so the memberships are just accumulating in there, and eventually we will get some new things when I get back to Australia. But it takes a long time to build up. But thank you for both. I just want to make a shout out to Danny because Danny's been a long time subscriber to the podcast. He sent me a message on Instagram and through Patreon. And I did answer you, Danny. I did answer you through Instagram. I hope you got that message. And Danny just wanted to give back, so I really appreciate that. I haven't heard back from Gear, so I'm not sure where he lives or what he drives. Danny doesn't drive a Porsche, Steve, but he has owned a 987.2 Boxster. You know, I'm a big fan of the Boxster at the moment. I'm looking at them because of the price. But he does own a car that I am interested in, and we talked about, I think, last week, wasn't it? He owns an M2.
Oh, yeah.
And he owns an M2 competition.
Nice.
Which is a really nice car. He says he lusts for a GT4, but he's got an M2 competition, so definitely a good car there. Nothing wrong with an M2 competition, that's for sure.
I've been having a little peek. Everyone around me, my other cousin is now in the market, but he's not going a Porsche car, even though he should, because it would stop him from buying. But I've got another cousin who's apparently on the hunt for like an F80 M3, the previous non-ugly generation, which is interesting.
I'm going to be the odd one out here, and we're not a BMW podcast, but I'm going to be the odd one out. I don't hate the grille of the M3 competition.
Blaspheme.
I don't hate it, and awful. I think it really does depend, and I thought that as well, and I think it does depend on the color. It obviously does depend on the color, and when the number plate's there, Steve, in between the grille, it does separate it a bit.
Beaver teeth. That.
I don't know. I don't hate it. But then again, the problem I have with a lot of modern cars, and this is probably, I know Elliot's probably listening, who's got the 992 Carrera S, but I have a problem with even modern cars in that the technology is a bit overload. I still think Porsche does it best. I still think Porsche's dash, Steve, and the electronics there are sort of, they're there, but they're hidden. The BMW and these new cars, I don't know about you, but this gesture technology they've got with the navigation and with the stereo and all these things, I think it just gets too much. And then, I was watching Harry's Garage, I think it was, or someone, and they were saying there's so many settings. You can put so many different settings on this M3 competition with the suspension and, all this. It's like, do you really want to do that? You know what I mean?
Every time. It's got a drift judge kind of thing. It scores you drifting and all that sort of stuff. I mean, I get it, but I think the biggest issue with all of that is that it'll date. I mean, like if you change your phone every 2 years because the screen quality and the processor quality, etc., like imagine what's going to happen with your car. And you're not supposed to kind of turn your car over, well, unless you're Ajmal rich. Like you're not going to turn your car over like every 2 years. That's crazy. So like it's not disposable. It shouldn't be.
This is going to be something that's going to be interesting in years to come, though, isn't it? I mean, what is it, 5 years or 10 years to actually see how all of these screens date, like you said, how they're going to be, how we're going to look at them in 10 years' time.
I'm sure I'm going to go on a massive tangent, but I was talking to an old friend who had a friend that was an actuary, and they were sort of discussing the notion of, and I used to work on Sony as a brand, like back in the day as well, as you know, but like the inbuilt sort of like, it's all kind of judged in terms of the lifespan of a bit of technology.
Did you do the tagline, "It's a Sony"?
I did not. That was international. But that's aging you as well, mate. But the notion of like, like something has it's a preordained kind of shelf life, like TVs kind of crap out at whatever it is. It used to be sort of like 8 years, but it's probably gotten shorter and shorter because manufacturers know it. Like they want you to kind of go and buy, a new TV like X number of years later. And I'm sure it's the same with cars. So like if somebody's listening to this and kind of listening to us old kind of grumpy old men talking about the fact that screens are going to be outdated in your latest BMW in 3 years, they're probably sitting there going, yep, that's exactly right. Because we, in 3 years' time, we want you to think about buying a new one or trading it in or whatever else. We want you to turn it over.
It's the disposable nature and the resale value and how much does it cost to change all that screen if you need to change it. And then if they change it, are they going to have the part? And that part's not available anymore because it's 10 years old technology. Exactly. It's like an old iPad. Let's take the old iPad. Exactly. Yeah. It gets very complicated. I still think Porsche's done it well, though. I still think Porsche's done it well.
If they were responsible, they'd probably kind of think of a way to make it modular. So then, like your hopefully classic BMW in 5 years' time, you can swap it out for the latest screen and all that sort of stuff. But I bet you they don't. They deliberately don't design it like that because they want you to turn it over because it is a disposable society.
But have you seen the switches? And I think it's on the Ferrari. It's on the Ferrari. What's that new one? Roma, is it? Is it Roma?
Roma, yeah.
And it's also on the new David Lee, the watch guy. Is it David Lee?
Yeah.
The watch guy in LA. He just picked up his new. What is that called? That new one?
SF90?
SF90.
The red and white one?
Yeah, and it's got the same switches. It's got all the switches on the steering wheel and stuff. They're all those tactile sort of, haptic switches. I'm not sure about those. I really am not sure about those. Same. I know other people on other podcasts have been talking about how they don't like them either when they've driven those, the Ferrari Roma. I don't know. I like just normal switches as well, especially on a steering wheel. I'm not sure if it works. I just want to do
tried it, but yeah.
I just want to do a shout out, Steve. Owner Stories. Have you had a chance to listen to it?
I have not. Sorry. I'm sorry. Busy.
PorscheCooled Owner Stories.
Actually, it didn't come up yesterday.
Did it? It's up Tuesday.
I actually did look. I've been
I didn't send it to you. Sorry, I should have sent it to you. Anyway, PorscheCooled Owner Stories, number 29. Number 29. Nick, if you're listening, Nick in the UK, you were number 1. Now we're up to number 29. So Luke from Brisbane, Australia. Good chat with Luke. Nice guy. Luke's got a 1999 96 Cabriolet. He bought it off a collector actually in Brisbane, or a collector's son, and the guy's actually got a Carrera GT and other very nice cars, and they've had this car since it was 2 years old. So it had a lot of miles on it, I think, but it had a really good service history, had lots of paperwork and lots of work done. It needed a little bit of general repair, etc., but Luke's been fixing it up. He put GT3 seats in it, Steve, which look fantastic. Cool. GT3 wheels, I'm pretty sure they're GT3 wheels as well. It's silver. It's got like a blue interior, but he's got those GT3 seats, which looks fantastic with the top down. And Luke also has a Cayenne GTS as well. He has lots of cars. Luke has a business in Australia called New Car Concierge, where he helps people find new cars. Basically, he'll sort it out for you and search it and help you with the finance and do all the whole procedure for you. So that's what he does if you're in Australia. Anyway, the link is in that podcast. Go and check it out. PorscheCooled Owner Stories. Luke with his 996. I know 996 episodes are really popular. Everyone's interested in a 996. I think cabriolets. I really do think cabriolets are coming back in fashion, so to speak, Steve. I noticed this girl on Instagram, and I can't remember the site. I can't remember the account, and she's got a 993 red cabriolet. And I think we had this conversation last week, didn't we? Would you choose between a Tiptronic or a cabriolet?
Cab.
I think, if it's in a manual, the cabriolet, I do actually quite like the 993 cabriolet. I have to say, I do actually like it when the top's down, like what Nick Murray's got. It does actually look quite good.
Yeah. I told you that anecdote. I can't remember. I heard it on a podcast or whatever, but somebody was saying that all the heads at Porsche, like Michael Maurer and Frank Walliser and all those guys, their everyday car is a 993 cab.
Really?
So, yeah, maybe something they know that we don't know.
That's interesting, isn't it? Because it does look good, I have to say. And there's a couple of, and I don't know whether Marco, your cousin-in-law, is it? Cousin-in-law, is that what you say? I don't know whether Marco, and I'm sure Marco's listening, if Marco's seen the two black 993 cabriolets, which are for sale on car sales in Australia, both manual. Like I said, one, if you look closely down, has been a repairable write-off because it had a hit on one side. But the other one has got all black wheels. The guy's done the black wheel thing. That one, I think, has got slightly lower kilometers. They look, I have to say, it looks good in black. It really does look good in black. It does look pretty tough. Tempting. If all the Porsche heads are wearing them, driving them, I should say.
Yeah, I'll, slight tangent again. I've got a question that I wanted to ask you. I'm putting you on the spot. We haven't pre-prepped it, but also
we don't pre-prep
Marco's
anything.
Little journey. Yeah, I know that, but don't bring down the curtain, mate. Everyone thinks that you're a pro at this. Marco messaged me last night because his little journey is kind of moving along. I won't blow it yet because I don't want to jinx him, but he's just had a PPI done on a car, and he sent.
You got to tell us which generation.
Water cooled.
Okay, so it's not. I thought you were going to say it was an SC.
No. Yeah, like I hadn't spoken to him since we were kind of bantering about that, but he's had a PPI done on a water cooled car, and he was just asking me about my opinion on the PPI because it's like the results are like 3 or 4 pages long.
Yeah, they're confusing.
Yeah. So it's really interesting because he was asking me about it. My other cousin who's looking at the M3 was asking about buying used cars, and this whole sort of PPI thing, which I know we kind of bang on about a lot.
Who did the PPI, Steve?
Autohouse.
Yeah.
It's a Sydney car, so Autohouse did it. It's really interesting because I think, I know you know what it's like, but, where you keep sort of saying, if you sort of want a bit of peace of mind or whatever else, there's no guarantees, but do a PPI. But the thing about it is that when you do actually kind of get something back and it's 4 pages long and it's kind of got this kind of massive list of really kind of finicky stuff, and, if you happen to be like you and I, slightly less mechanical, Marco's probably a little bit more with it than I am in terms of knowledge, but
right.
It really can freak you out. Like my other mate, I think that's sort of what slightly happened to him too, where you kind of go, oh shit, like, this car's kind of got like all of this stuff wrong.
So did he tell you anything that was the major thing? Was there anything major?
I can't quite tell. I haven't spoken to him yet. He literally sent it to me last night as I was going to bed, and we were just about to kind of continue the conversation. But I think the other part to that sort of PPI conversation is it can freak you out. Like when you sort of read this big long list, I was sort of saying to him, look, the next bit to me is to make sure that you sort of get somebody to help you interpret it. Like in this instance, speak to Grant or one of the guys, the literal person that sort of did it at Autohouse, and kind of go, so what are the deal breakers here? What's the cost to kind of repair it? Because if you're talking about a 20-year-old car, clearly, like you could go and sink like, 15, 20 grand on this long list kind of thing, but you're not buying it to be a brand new car, like what needs to be done right here and now. And I reckon the sort of slightly nebulous thing about that conversation is that actually depends on you. Like I don't think a mechanic can sort of say, well, you have to do this now and you don't have to do this now necessarily, because that actually kind of is more about budget. Like you can easily blow your load right now if you want to, but you could easily just kind of go,
but
over the next 3 years. Over the next 3 years, every time the car goes in, I'm just going to tick off this, next bit, like, the broken under tray, which my car has had since I bought it.
Really? I would do the major things, though. I'd still spend the money in the beginning. You'd budget it, right? If the car is 70 grand or 60 grand or whatever it is, you'd have to say, well, I'm willing to spend another 15 now, and then next year I'll spend another 5 or whatever on top of the service. It depends what it is, though. It depends how serious it is. If it's something serious, we have to get it done now. And if we don't know that, it's a bit hard to comment.
What's your definition of a major thing? That actually does become a bit of a sort of personal thing.
Brakes.
Yep.
Clutch and brakes, I think. Suspension. They're the major ones, right? Oil leak.
On Marco's thing, I noticed there was stuff like things about the battery. Like I think it's the wrong spec battery. There's a bit of corrosion on the under tray and all of that sort of thing. It's
really?
like, so stuff like that, you just kind of go, nah, like that's just them being really diligent and telling you that, it's got like a non-spec battery fitted, but it's a 20-year-old car, and probably at some point in time something's kind of rusted a little bit.
See, I'm still confused about this battery thing. That it still puzzles me why people put wrong batteries in cars, because my car's got the wrong battery, as you know, as well.
Yeah, because at the time they don't have the exact right spec if it hasn't gone to, like I'm sure like even like some indies probably wouldn't have batteries sort of lying around just to kind of replace it with.
I can't remember what it is, though. It's the amps, I think. It's just slightly, something is just slightly out.
Yeah, absolutely. So it's not that it's sort of like negligence kind of thing. It's probably just at the time when your kind of car goes in or when it craps out and you can't start it, you put in it whatever happens to be on hand, because it kind of gets you going and you don't really think about it like that.
But the corrosion would be a little bit of a concern, right? Because that means there's something the battery is possibly leaked. Is that on the battery tray? Yeah, so that's...
Yeah. But that just means that maybe 2 batteries ago, it's probably kind of had a bit of a leak, and when they replaced it, they just didn't bother cleaning it up.
I'm guessing from that it's a 996 that he's found.
Why is it not a 997?
Because I think that battery corrosion thing, I've read about it, is happening on 996s.
Yeah.
And I don't think I've read it. I don't think I've read it happening on 997s, and I don't know why. If there's a reason to that and someone knows, let us know. But I'm pretty sure he's obviously found a 996.
I think it happened on my 993 too, actually.
Did it?
That battery.
Yeah. I did come across something actually just recently about it when I was searching, because I was searching about power the other day, Steve, to do with batteries. And you know the thing with the 997, and I know I've mentioned this before and someone said I didn't know that. It's in the manual as well, but I don't know it either. But you know this battery energy saver mode that the car goes in the 997, right? The energy saving mode. Did you know? So when your remote doesn't work,
and it shuts down after however many days it is.
Yeah, so my car gets started every 3 weeks, as you know, right? And it can't be unlocked most of the times with the remote, because the remote will not unlock the car. This time, when it was unlocked to be started,
with the key,
the driver, with the key, which has happened, the past 3 or 4, 5 times or whatever it is, happened a lot.
Yep.
The driver's window came down.
All the way down, or just a little bit?
Quarter of the way.
Yep.
So not just the air gap thing, not just where it does the air gap thing where it goes up and down, not that, to protect the seal. It actually came down a quarter of the way. To which, the person that's looking after it said, is that normal? And I said, nope, that's not normal. But I tried to do a search for it on Renlist and see if anyone else had the issue, but nothing came up. And then it went up okay. It wasn't like it got stuck or it didn't go back up. It went up, and it was only the driver's side, not both sides. So it's not like when you push the key and all the windows come down, which I think happens. So I don't know. It's a little bit odd.
Yeah, I wouldn't take too much from it. My car sort of does sort of funny little things. Sometimes the window, like doesn't go all the way down, or it stutters on the way up and stuff like that. Like, it's not ideal. Obviously, you'd love it to kind of be absolutely perfect, but again,
I want everything to be perfect.
Yeah, no. How old are these cars? They're like 15 years kind of thing.
I've been thinking about that, actually. I've been thinking about it a lot. In fact, I think about it a lot when I go to sleep at night, which is very weird. I think about that and other things.
Think about what exactly? What are you holding when you're sort of thinking these things, dare I ask?
No, I was thinking about the things, all the things that I want to do. I'm sort of I'm telling Natasha, my wife, I'm telling Natasha about all the things I want to do, and I have a little side fund that I've got money in, which I'm going to use. But I don't think the side fund's got enough money in it. I think it's a bit short.
Isn't that called a Patreon account?
No, this is my other many accounts that I have at the moment. So many accounts and so many wallets. I don't know what's going on. But the bumper, for example, I think you're right. And I had a suggestion from Craig that's been on Owner's Stories, P997.1 Craig with the blue 997. Yep. He gave me a place in Castle Hill that he got something done in his car, his bumper. He said they're very good. I'll send you the link afterwards. I don't have it at the top of my head. Is it a repair shop
or a detailer?
Yeah, repair. And he said they're very good. I think I will take it to Atlas in Artarmon for people listening in Australia and Sydney. I think I will take it to Atlas. I think I would rather take it to them. I know, and after that, I'll just go through this list very quickly. And then after that, I will either get them to do it, Steve, or I'll take it to that shop that's close by in Artarmon. Even though there's a place in Castle Hill which is supposed to be very good for the PPF, I am going to do something I know you're not keen on. I'm going to get the PPF. I'm going to get all of the front of the car PPF'd.
Yep. As
in the 2 fenders and the bonnet and the bumper redone.
Yep.
If they think the rear bumper should be redone, I might get it redone. But I think the rear bumper's okay because it has got PPF on it and it's not damaged. So I think I might just leave it as it is and it's not discolored. So I will do that. Mm-hmm. I might remove my stripe. Which a lot of people have said don't do, but I might remove the stripe. Tasha doesn't want me to do it. She thinks it'll look weird without it, but I'm thinking
you can always reapply it.
Yeah, I might remove it. I'm going to get roof racks. I'm going to get... I've already researched it. Yeah, I've already researched it, and I've reached out to a couple of people who have got them. I'm going to get the Porsche roof racks, and I'm going to get a tool cargo box for the top.
Yep. Like the dude in Thailand.
Yeah, I'm going to do it like that. I'm going to make it look really super cool. And then I'm going to do a trip down to Victoria. And then I might even do a trip to Queensland or whatever. So
I'll keep my eyes peeled because the roof racks come up on all the sort of sites that I browse like quite often. I think I sent it to you once.
New ones?
Porsche? No, not new ones. Used ones. Porsche.
I like new things.
I know, there's a difference between you and me. I like cheap things.
No, but apparently the Porsche, for anyone that's thinking about putting a cargo box on their Porsche, it looks really cool. Go and have a look at Tanister. I think it's Tanister. Mm-hmm. Yeah, Tanister, who's a site on Instagram, a guy in Thailand. He's got a yellow 997 Carrera S, which looks fantastic. And they go on trips, and he's got a toolbox, which I forget the name of it. It's about $3,000 the box. The racks, and I think the racks are about $1,000, so it's about $4,000. But I think if you're going to do road tripping in it, which is what I'm thinking of in the top of my head, I'm thinking of doing road tripping and doing videos, Steve. I kind of given it away. I was going to keep it a secret, but I've kind of thinking that's what I might do if I have enough time to do it in Australia. If I'm not,
maybe I can. So maybe I can just hide in that box to escape, like my children and dog.
Yeah. Stick Walter in there. I'll take him for a drive.
What if he does a crap in there?
Yeah, no, please don't. What else am I going to do? I'm going to fit all the leather parts that I got from that I got made in the UK. Mm-hmm. I'm going to change my sills to the stainless steel sills, even though I've been umming and ahhing myself about it. But
you didn't buy them yet, did you?
Not yet. No, I might buy. I may not be able to buy them in the UK because I really have so many things to bring back to Australia that I think I'm going to struggle. I might have to buy them in Australia. Or I might have to buy them and get them sent to Australia and just pay the postage because I don't think I'm going to have room.
Where will you get them from? Design 911.
Design 911 are the cheaper price. Their price is cheaper than Suncoast, but I think there's other things that I want to get, so I think I might just get it all from Suncoast.
Oh, okay. Yeah, cool.
Because I want to get a new indoor car cover as well because mine's starting to get a little bit tatty and the elastic's starting to go, and it's, I don't know why. I just want to get a new one. I know
why, because you just want to get a new one.
Yeah, and the other one's going to be dirty, and I'll wash it. But it's it starts to sort of lose the elasticity around the edge.
I'm not sure.
I might get
really
new
matters.
floor mats. I might get new floor mats as well for the front. I got my sunroofs around the other day, and I'm not going to mention the guy, and people know who it is, and people have reached out to me know who it is. But he did respond to me today, and he did apologize, and he said, try it out, and if it doesn't work, he will list it on eBay, and he'll give me a refund in Australia. So he said, just take it back with you, see if it's okay. If it's okay, if it's not, you're not happy with it, then he'll list it on eBay Australia, and then he'll just refund me the money.
What bit won't be okay, do you think? So what's the...
well, the stitching's wrong. So the first one that he made for me, which somehow went missing, has got the stitching like all the other parts he made for me, which is the same as my, and I know you and I have an argument about this, about the color of the stitch, but the PCM, is it? Is that what you call it?
The side blades?
Yeah, the side blades, they're the factory part I've got. It's got that, it's more of a whiter stitch. Mm-hmm. But when he did all the parts for me, he did all the parts in that stitch because that's the factory stitch. He said that's the factory stitch, which is what I think Exclusive Option has as well. And then he did the sunroofs around, and that was one of the first parts he did for me, and he sent me the picture, and it had that stitch. And I asked Adrian, my wife's brother, when he was there the other day to pull out one so I could see it. And it's definitely the different. He definitely has done the wrong stitch color on the sunround. He's done a charcoal stitch. Not the stitch.
You've got various parts now, and there's grey stitching on the sunroofs around and white stitching on the other pieces.
All the other pieces have got the as per factory stitching, which match the blade in the car.
Yep.
But the sunroof surround has got
so that's the bit
grey.
When you say you and I were having an argument, I call that a conversation as opposed to an argument. But what are you, my wife?
Steve always tells me that the light's wrong, like I'm looking at it in the wrong light. It's like, no, I've got it in front of me. It's grey. The stitch is actually grey. No. It's charcoal.
Is it the light in the photograph? But it's more that I know, like I've had Clarence and John from Pro Stitch, Clarence, different trimmer, blah, blah, blah.
Yeah.
Sort of doing detailing interior work for my car, and we've literally kind of walked out with, leather samples and thread samples. And even though my car's got a mixture of some factory bits and now some aftermarket bits, either Exclusive Option, Pro Stitch made,
but you have different,
right?
You have some grey stitch and you have some white stitch, don't you?
No, and this is what I'm about to say to you. Like, I'm pretty sure that there is no white stitch in my car in the factory kind of areas. And the degree of grey in... I'll talk purely about the factory bits, obviously, because like the other bits are supposed to kind of match. the last time I went to John at Pro Stitch and we kind of got the thread out and looked at a couple of different bits of stitching on the door cards and the dash, I've got 2 different shades of grey stitch on my factory leather. So
yeah, it's really tricky, isn't it, doing interior parts? I mean, it really is tricky because the thread color there's so many different variances of thread color. I mean, he supplied the part, the sunroof part, the button, the actual sunroof button on the part is really dodgy. Like it looks like a 996 owners, but it looks like the 996 button, not the 997 button, because this part is the same part as the 996 part and 997 part is the same. The switch is really glossy. The picture is all worn off on it. But I think you can just slip that switch out. It just comes off. So I'm going to use my actual switch. If it doesn't, then I will just have to sell it. You know what I mean? I'm not going to put it in if it looks bad. Even though it's got the grey stitch, it may be okay because of where it is. But knowing me, if I notice that it's grey and everything else is not grey and it's more ivory, it will drive me effing insane. I won't be able to stand it. You know what I mean? Because I'll pick, you know me, I always find that little thing and it just sticks in my head. But he was really good. And, you know, like he took a couple of days to respond to me and he was really good. And so like, you know, it's not such a, you know, so I won't send it back to him. I'll just keep it and, you know, see what happens. If worst comes to worst, I'll give it to someone in Australia or sell it to someone, or I'm sure there's someone that might want it. So, but there's nothing wrong with it. The quality, the quality of workmanship and everything, Steve, is perfect. There's nothing wrong with it.
Yeah.
But
look, I've been in that situation before. Like, I won't name names, but it wasn't John at Pro Stitch because I didn't know him back. But when I had my 993 interior trimmed out, I think I told you, like I had the whole front dash sort of done, and it was an amazing job. The craftsmanship was like brilliant, better than factory. Like the stitching was, you know, really precise and everything. But you know, I remember when I kind of rolled up, looked at the car, I was like, shit, it's the wrong color stitch.
Yeah, I know.
And it's like,
see that feeling.
I know.
You know? That
so
feeling,
then they had to redo it.
Feeling. I was so looking forward
to redo it, and the job wasn't quite as good as the first job, but you know, it's like, well,
see,
you know, which one do you want? So
this part arrived, you know, and I was so excited the fact that it came after a year. Like it's been 1 year, and it was like, you know, there's one missing part, and then I opened it, and I went, oh my god. As soon as I opened it, I knew it was wrong. I was like, what? First, I noticed how dodgy the button was on the part. I was like, I cannot live with that. And then I noticed the stitch was wrong. But anyway. We were talking about Marco, and then you went off track. Well, I thought there was a question coming with Marco's thing.
Okay, so the question is, if you had, I'm going to call it like 150 grand to spend.
Yeah.
What do you buy? And you've never had a Porsche, so it's your first, and assume that it's not part of your expanding collection. It's your one Porsche, 150 Oz, and I can preempt you with 2 choices if you want, but.
Well, I think I know the first. I think it would be 150. You can't get a GT3 for 150. You might get a high kilometer GT3 in 996. So I'd say probably not a GT3 because I think it's not enough money. I think a 996 Turbo might be the first choice.
Yep.
And if there was one available, and it'd have to be a 997 Turbo is in Australia for the listeners is out of that price range because they're about 200k.
Yep.
So that would be wrong. So 996 Turbo, which I know you can get for 150, and there's a couple of good ones for sale. I really hope that's what Marco's buying, because if he's buying that one, I think he's buying, then it's a good one, that yellow one. Is he buying that yellow 996 Turbo?
No comment, mate. I have no idea.
Because that yellow 996 Turbo that's for sale at the moment, I think is a bit of a winner. I like that one, and it's a good price. I was looking the other day, that's why, because I'm trying to work out what to get when I go back to Sydney.
Yeah, speed yellow is cool.
Yeah.
Love speed yellow.
Well, some people like it, and some people think it's a bit flashy. But I do like it, especially in the GT3 and the Turbo. So the 996 Turbo for 150, you know, it's going to be hard to find one, and I think it's probably impossible now, but I would say a 997.2 Carrera S. But I think 150,
would that be 150?
I think 150 is not enough money, so it'd probably be more like a 997.2 Carrera. It wouldn't be a Carrera S.
Or a very nicely optioned 997.1 Carrera S?
I would not get a 0.1 Carrera S.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. I wouldn't get a 0.1 Carrera S, I don't think. GTS is out of the question. There's not much, you know. There's not much. Mm-hmm. The other thing,
you're back into 993.
possibly You won't get a 993 cab. You'll get a 993 cab. 993, there's a 964 manual that just came up, a Carrera 2 in red. Did you see that on car sales in Australia? That's 179,000.
Well, that blows your budget. Yep.
Yep. 150, if I could get maybe a Carrera 3.2 that's not a G50, because that'd be too high. That'd be close to 200. Maybe it's the earlier model. Maybe. I don't think there's much else. I mean, then the other option to look at is to get there's just one car. I mean, you could get a Boxster. You could get a GTS Boxster.
Not for 150.
150, you wouldn't get a GTS. You could get a Boxster S. Boxster S, maybe.
Yeah, I'd be going 911.
But I think for 911, I think it's a 996 turbo, actually. I have to say, I think it's 996 turbo.
My quick question was probably going to be, I reckon it's either 996 turbo or maybe a naturally aspirated 997 in sort of really kind of mint sort of condition.
Or, first 911, maybe you could almost get there with a 991.1 Carrera.
Oh, at 150?
There have been some, there was one for 155, 159. I mean, I think, this is Australian prices for you guys listening from UK and US. You're going, wow, that's expensive. But you could maybe find a 901.1 Carrera. Maybe not a Carrera S, maybe just a Carrera, but, that could be a good alternative. That could be a nice alternative.
Oh, yeah. Didn't think about it. Not for me, but yeah.
For me, I think I would. For me, if I was spending 150 and I wanted something special, I think I'd still go the 996 turbo. 996 turbo, even though I think it's expensive for what it is now. I don't know. I'm looking at old prices in my head and thinking, left it too late. But I still think it's a great car. I still think it really is a great car. And Ted Gishu just bought one, and he's the Porsche legend, and he's Mr. Type 7, so it must be good.
Yeah, right. Okay, cool. I'd probably.
But Marco, if you're listening, if you're listening, Marco, and I'm psychic, which people say that I am, and you bought the yellow 996, then I don't know. I think you have to give me a present when I come to Sydney or something. I don't know. Something has to happen, Steve.
He could hold you at night whilst you think about the things that you're going to do to your car.
You have to let me do a video on your car. That's what you have to do.
I'm sure he'd let you do that.
Hey, something really interesting, and I read it just before we started the podcast. We haven't even got onto what we're going to talk about today, and we're just rambling on today. But did you see, and I sent you the link, actually. I put the link on our notes. Is another 911 Sport Classic in the mix, in the works? Have you seen this? So
I saw the link you sent, yes.
Yeah, so apparently they're saying on this site that I found this article, it was on other sites as well, that there's a new batch of spy shots, and it shows this familiar-looking test vehicle. It isn't the first 911 that's been that they've been testing with a ducktail spoiler, but apparently this one is a little bit different. Steve, did you read the article? This one's a little bit different, as in
it doesn't wide body.
Yeah, but the test vehicle in these pics, it doesn't have the turbos, rear haunches. It doesn't have the air intakes. The other one with the ducktail spoiler. Apparently, the first one with the ducktail spoiler, it said had the turbos models rear haunches, gaping air intakes. This test vehicle in the latest batch of pics doesn't have those. The fenders are smooth, lacking the intakes, but that's not the only difference. A close inspection of the new prototype reveals it sports a double bubble roof. Now, we know what a double bubble roof is. A double bubble roof comes on the Sport Classic. So is Porsche exclusive manufacturer, which we know are always going to give us something special. This could be really exciting. Is it a new 911 Sport Classic?
But isn't the double bubble roof also on a GT3 RS?
Is it?
Yeah, it was on the 991 RS.
Really?
The Gen 1, definitely it was.
Okay, or is this just the Touring? Are they going to put a ducktail spoiler on the Touring?
Could do. That would probably make equal sense. I don't know. Like with the sports design thing. So go with the this is on motor1.com, which is a reputable auto journalistic website.
As reputable as all of them.
As opposed to hot cars.
I like hot cars. I found a few more articles in that.
Yeah, I know. It's sporting a turbo front bumper and turbo wheels as well,
Yeah.
which is kind of why it's sort of a bit of a mishmash. But yeah, I don't know, like isn't what sort of made the original, as in the 997 Sport Classic, it was partly some of the external details like the double bubble roof and the ducktail thing.
Yeah.
But a big part of what was sort of special was also the interior and the fact that it came out of manufacturer exclusive kind of thing.
It was the first one they did, wasn't it? It was the first reintroduction. Well, not the first one. They used to do it under a different name, but this was the first reintroduction of it.
That sort of showcased what they could kind of do. And like there was so many sort of beautiful, bespoke, detailed bits on it. So for this car to kind of emulate that and be just as special, like wouldn't it need to have those sorts of touches, which are kind of a little bit more common practice now? Like you can kind of get houndstooth if you really want it. And you can
I still think if they bring out another one, it'd be pretty special. I still think it's pretty special. I mean, that guy that, I can't remember his name, but the guy that's in charge of exclusive manufacturer, the very first car that he worked on, and we've talked about this before, he did the Sport Classic, the 997 Sport Classic. And he found it hard to convince them that he wanted to make 250 cars, and they were worried that he wouldn't be able to sell them. And of course they sold very, very quickly.
Yep.
I really doubted his taste, actually. I doubted what he was doing, because when I saw that Targa Heritage Collection,
the recent one.
Yeah, the recent one that was done, which was the Targa Heritage Edition Targa, or whatever it's called, the Targa 4S Heritage Edition.
Yes.
I didn't understand it. And I think, this is really weird when you look at colors and how colors really make you look at something completely different to what it is. And I always struggle with that effing Targa, that Heritage Edition, because it was in that red. You know what I mean?
Arena
that
red.
Burgundy. Yeah, that burgundy color.
Is it arena? Yeah.
Yeah, maybe it's arena red. But I did like the details when I watched that live thing when he was with Magnus Walker. He did a live Instagram and he was going through their factory there and going through all the cars and their mood boards, etc. And I like the interior of that car. I like the corduroy. I like the the harking back to the original Targas and the original 911s. But it was just that color, Steve. It just turned me off. And now I've seen that car in blue. I don't know what blue it was, arrow blue or the blue that I've seen on Instagram during the week. Yep. I don't know why, for some reason, I thought it only came in that red. I don't know what was wrong with me. I didn't realize it came in other colors. I thought they just brought it out in one color. Then I saw it in that blue, and I thought, wow, the blue looked really cool. And then I saw the black one that Chris Harris is driving the blue one. Chris Harris is driving the blue one. And he said...
I was about to say that he's kind of rating it very highly.
Yeah. And he said, I doesn't know whether he's getting old or whatever, but he said it's a really good car. It's heavy and he shouldn't like it, but it's a good car. And then I saw the black one today on Instagram. And I tell you, I think that car, that Heritage Edition Targa, it's going to keep its value, and it's a good investment. You know what I mean? I really do. I think it's a bit like the Speedster. I know at first I was going, why are they copying the Speedster with the number, and why are they trying to imitate the Speedster? But I think it kind of works, And you think if you could have two of the cars out of that collection, can you imagine if you had like something like a 911R, you had the Speedster, and you have this Targa Heritage Edition, It's quite a nice combination. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah,
I just thought it was interesting. And it was the color. That color always turned me off.
It sort of swivels to a little bit more of a lifestyle-y kind of thing. Like, I don't know. I think you're right. Like, burgundy cars aren't my thing as well. Like, that sort of reeks of 70s or 80s or whatever it is. But tons of people love Arena Red. Like, the 993 crowds, a lot of people kind of go crazy for an Arena Red 993. So
yeah, there's an Arena Red 993 on Instagram. A guy's been posting a lot, and he's got black wheels on it, I think. And it looks good in that. Yeah. It actually looks quite good.
Yeah. Well, there was wasn't that the Kills Bugs Fast, the car, the turbo that got marketed with that was Arena Red. That was, I think, maybe the launch color for it. Anyway.
I thought this segues really well into what we were sort of going to touch on, not in the main part of the chat, but we're just going to touch on in the latter half of this podcast. How, looking at that Targa now, there's some really cool features of it. You know what I mean? Like even though it's only the corduroy seating, the piping, it's just that fine detail that Porsche seem to, they pick on from their history, from their heritage, Steve, and put it into a new model. Yeah. And sometimes you miss it. You know what I mean? You miss it. You think, oh, it's new, and it's not new. It's harking back to their history, to their heritage, right? And what you were saying about, the details of a Porsche, the hidden details, the favorite parts of a Porsche, the favorite details on any Porsche. Do you want to keep going?
Yeah, sure. So like, it was partly because I think I also was reading Evo online, and they sort of do I think it's sort of more like a photographic kind of article that's a regular feature where they sort of just highlight a particular detail in a car. And in this instance, the latest one, they just kind of showed pictures, talked a little bit about the center lock nuts on a Carrera GT. How on one side they're red centers, on the other side it's blue. And, you know, like idiots like us kind of go, oh, how cool is that? And it's like, well, I'm sure if I sort of said that to my wife, she'd kind of go, why don't they match? Like, that's kind of weird. And the reason for it is that it kind of speaks to this sort of Le Mans racing thing where they knew which side of the car the nuts belonged to because they obviously secure in a particular direction.
Yeah.
And that's the reason why, you know, and that wound up on a Carrera GT. And, you know, it's kind of got like this little racing heritage thing now. And then, you know, idiots like us all just kind of look at it and go, oh, wow, that's amazing.
I mean, I to be honest with you, and I'm going to sound really stupid here, I didn't realize there were different colors for quite some time. I didn't actually even realize.
Yeah.
But it is very, very cool.
There's all these funny little things. And I think a lot of the, you know, I sort of tapped out a couple of things that I just really like about, you know, some of them are very more aesthetic things, but I think interestingly, even though we kind of claim them now to be aesthetic, a lot of them hark back to motorsport heritage, I reckon.
Yeah.
You know, like there's other bits like I really, really fancy the balsa wood shift knob in a Carrera GT, as you know, because I tried to replicate it-ish in my car, just for fun.
And become a big trend, though. People are putting them in their air-cooleds, people are putting them in their modern 997s, people are making them now, so they've become, you know, quite popular, haven't they?
Yeah, Singer, and I think Singer kind of probably repopularized it most recently on top of the Carrera GT, but that supposedly goes back to motorsport again, where like the balsa wood thing is lightness, you know. God knows how many kind of grams it saved.
I thought it was to do with heat as well, something to do with the heat.
It probably would be. Makes
like
sense.
it was metal that gets too hot, so the wood doesn't actually get hot, apparently.
Yep.
That's what I heard.
Yeah.
The other thing I really like on the Carrera GT2, and I don't know if it's even just like the mesh, you know, that mesh over the shape of the mesh.
Exhaust.
It's just, it's that.
The engine cover,
Yeah, the engine cover is pretty, you know, it's just special. Little things.
I suppose that mesh probably appeared on, I'm going to get it wrong, but is it 355 Ferraris? You know, like the black bit right at the back above the bumper? Sort of like perforated metal.
The perforated metal's on the 360. It's on the 360 Stradale, I think it is. 360 Ferrari, but it's probably on the 355 as well. Yeah. I know it's on the 360 as an option. It was an option, that perforated black above the exhaust. What else, mate?
Okay, so yeah, what else? Like I reckon you can't go past the rear-quarter window line of a 911. Like that, the back window, how it kind of curls back in on itself right at the back. Yeah. That's so iconic.
And that's just that thing that's always shape. There. It is, isn't it? That's, you know, that's pure Porsche design DNA, isn't it? That's just pure, like, you know, it's just follows through on every generation, really.
Yeah, I'm sure if you kind of got like a really good car designer like Michael Maurer or somebody else like that who could kind of explain it, but I bet you there's a lot more to it because it's probably where a couple of surfaces kind of meet, like not just the window line, but then the rear arch kind of comes back in on the other dimension and stuff. It's such a nice shape.
Yeah, it's special. And I just want to
bubble roof.
Can I just because we're talking about the window line, it's also for me the other thing that's really special, and I know it's a bit daggy, but it's when you're driving your car and you're in your 911 and you look, like I said the first time when I was in my car almost, and you look through your side mirrors and you see the shape of the wheel arches, how you can see it. You know what I mean?
Even when you're in a narrow body car, it's still...
Yeah, even in mine, and I remember when I went with Nick's in the UK here, and he's got the 4S, and it was, you know, so much wider when I looked through the passenger, But it's just that those haunches, you know, just your standard, even, you know, like you said, narrow body, my Carrera, it's just that look that you know you're in a 911, but when you see that, you know, it's that, Steve, and it's the front, you know, the headlights, you know, the shape of the bonnet.
That
and the
view
funders.
through your side mirrors, I got exactly the same sensation when I jumped into my uncle's 991.2.
Yeah.
Exactly the same.
Yeah.
They're just really kind of fat and flared and
Yeah.
just really cool.
And it just makes
Actually,
you
just
feel
off
good,
that-
doesn't it? It just does something to you when you sit in there and you see that. It's just like, yeah, this is cool, you know?
Yeah, I reckon one of the best angles on a 911 is directly above because it's got that Coke bottle shape when you kind of view it from above.
Yeah, when you see that, yeah, you're right, actually. The top view, yeah, it's a great view. It's a great view.
Yeah. And it can't, well, I suppose other cars sort of have that shape, but
Not
it
as
is a very
iconic.
distinctive 911 type thing, yeah.
Yep.
I had mentioned double bubble roof, which obviously we were just sort of chatting about. It's kind of, it's interesting because it sort of follows the, on pre-996 911s, there was that, I don't know what it's called, like the indentation in the front lid, the bonnet, with a false kind of vent. It doesn't actually kind of go anywhere.
Yeah.
When you sort of see a double bubble roof with that, the lines kind of follow, which are quite cool. But I'm kind of bummed that they ditched that on the 996 and then our cars, like a 997, doesn't have it. Because I don't know, there's something about that little detail that I quite liked.
But the head of Porsche exclusive manufacturer, I wish I knew his name. I should know his name. When he was talking about that, because that was that first project, and I think, once again, we've mentioned this before, but people haven't heard it or people don't know, that was really hard for him to get that approved, the double bubble roof. I think he was talking about it.
Stamp a whole new bonnet, right?
Well, the double bubble roof was hard because it wasn't something that was done on the normal production line. It had to be done separately or something. It was quite complex. But he really wanted to do it, you know what I mean? And I think today, you know, I'm glad they got it through and I'm glad it was approved because it is, you know, so iconic now on that 997 Sport Classic. But it was a very complicated thing apparently to do because it wasn't something they could do on the normal production line. It had to go off the production line or something had to happen. I can't remember exactly the engineering side of it, but it wasn't something that was standard, you know what I mean?
Yeah, it's not a little part to kind of go and make, you know, a short sort of run of manufacturing to kind of do it.
Yep.
I quite fancy the flying buttresses on a Boxster Spider as well. I reckon that's what makes the Boxster shape and the Spider that much more special from the back. Like Boxster, the rear of a Boxster and that kind of rear deck lid has always looked really cool. But the Spider sort of makes it that much better. I quite like that bit.
Yeah, it does look good on a Spider. But you think it looks better on a Spider than it does on a Speedster? You think the Speedster rear is better than the Spider?
No, I probably still prefer the Spider.
Because it's more compact, right?
Yeah, the Spider to the Speedster. Yeah, there's just still something a tiny bit bulky. I mean, I wouldn't be complaining if I had a 991.2 Speedster. But I reckon aesthetically, I'm talking pure aesthetics, and it's just very subjective. But
so that is going back to the 550 Spider, right? That's where that comes from. It's from the 550 Spider where it was behind the driver's head, wasn't it? It's almost like a safety thing.
Yeah. Oh, you're talking the humps?
Yeah, the humps.
Yeah. Yep.
The humps are from the 550 Spider, right?
Yep. So what else is there, mate? I quite like the wheel arch fence in a 991.2 RS, the front fence, although like in black plastic is not so nice. In carbon is much better.
Did they come as carbon as an option, or they only provided them in plastic? They're only in plastic, weren't they?
Yeah, I think so. I think a lot of people change it to carbon, but
I mean, I like those. I really do. I mean, I'm a big fan of that 991.1 GT3 RS because the price is a little bit low. It was low. It's not low so low anymore, but there is something really special about that GT3 RS. It is very nice, those vents. That was the first time they did that, wasn't it? That was the first incarnation of those vents.
And that's, again, a motorsport thing because it releases the air pressure in the wheel wells.
Yeah, and then there's that other little detail. You know, it's these little details that Porsche do, Steve. You know, in the 991.2 GT3 RS, on the side of the door, the ducts on the side of the door, they've got little lines in the plastic.
Ah, yeah.
Did you watch that video? Yeah, and that's to let the air. It's about improving the airflow. Like they're not just a detail for appearance. They're actually an engineering detail which helps the flow of air. And they're just like these little lines, aren't they, in the thing?
Tiny little fins sort of thing, just on the trim.
Which I don't think were on the 991.1. They're on the 991.2 GT3 RS. They're a new addition to the whole aerodynamics of the car and you know, making the air, you know, go through the car quicker.
And I think it's funny with that sort of thing because if you had a 991.1, you see the sort of updated bit, like people like to kind of swap them out because, you know, like they're kind of constantly improving and evolving and stuff like that. And all of a sudden you're poor.
I do like the GT3 RS though. I mean, I know everyone raves about the 0.2 being the pinnacle and being a fantastic car, but I have to say I wouldn't say no to a 0.1. And they were cheap there for a bit there, but I've noticed the prices have all jumped. They've all jumped very quickly again, which is really weird. At one point there, they were like 319, 320 in Australia, and now they're back up to about 360, 370.
Most car prices are going up, aren't they? I think they are.
Yep.
Yeah.
What else is there? What about exhaust tips? Isn't there some exhaust tips?
Well, for me...
The GT3 styling in particular.
Yeah, in my car particularly, the bits that I like the most about it probably would be the center exhaust tips, although the standard ones in a 997 were a little bit piddly, tiny bit small, and they've kind of got the rolled edges where I think they updated it and it looks a little bit better to my eyes. That's kind of just a bit boffiny, but, you know, whatever. And I quite fancy, for a GT3, I really like the Flying Taco wing design of on my car, the 997.1.
Yeah, no, I like it too.
And I actually prefer it to the sort of higher wings and the whole swan neck thing and all of that sort of stuff. I know it's not as proficient in its aerodynamic function kind of thing, but just pure aesthetics again, I kind of actually prefer the look of it.
No, that's what I've said I like about your car, and like I said, when you're following your car from the rear, it's three things at the back. It's the wing, it's the air vents, the you know, vertical air vents in the bumper. And it's the exhaust tips. It's those three things together just make that 997. You just look at it and it's just, you know, it's special. You know what I mean? That detail just makes it so special. It's those three things together. It's the shape when it comes together, and it's the rear bumper detail, the exhaust, and the wing. You know, which makes it look so much better than the back of, say, my standard Carrera, which sometimes, you know, the 997 Carrera, it looks a bit saggy bum sometimes. I know that's a weird thing to say, but it does. Depends on the angle.
Yeah.
But it can.
From dead behind it's not, but in profile I reckon it can look a little bit.
Yeah, a little bit saggy bum.
But Yeah. But then see, like even by comparison, like, you know, everyone keeps talking about the new almost delivered GT3. The thing about some of those design details that we sort of rambling about on the 997, it's motorsporty and it's sort of, you know, but it's still kind of got a little bit of sophistication, or it's a little bit more discreet. It's kind of got that right balance of kind of doing those two things, whereas this new GT3 design is just kind of gone full motorsport, which I think will be polarizing for a couple of people.
It has, but don't you think, and maybe it's because I keep seeing more and more of them, you know, on social and whatever, I'm starting to get used to, I'm not loving the rear wing, I'm still not loving it, but you're starting to get used to the shape of the new GT3. All of a sudden it's starting to look
absolutely.
like the GT3 again, and it's the GT3. You know what I mean? How it always happens with
They'll get you.
Yeah, they eventually get you.
For it, like, yeah.
And when I see it in, you know, some of the, I think I saw it in a color the other day, not yellow, it was some other color. There was a picture of one, and you know, it does look good. It's some angles, you know. It's just, I mean, I think you have to see it in real life. It's like everything; you just have to see it. You know, one detail I really like, and this is going back to 65 to. I think it's over 65, 69, is it? I'm probably got the dates wrong. The 911, I really like the gold badging, which they had on the 911s. You know what I mean? The Porsche and the 911. I think it's on the 911T as well, isn't it? It wasn't on the 912s. The 912s, that's where they differentiated the fact between a 912 and a 911. It was the trim on the... Trim inside was silver, where the 911 had the crisscross, you know, weave pattern, basket weave pattern. But I really like that gold badging on the back. I don't think Porsche. I don't think Porsche has done that though, have they? In modern 911s, they haven't done a gold badging, have they?
The heritage thing that you just talked about. The heritage
so
Targa
right.
and
So
the
they put it.
Speedster.
Okay. So they have used it. So they brought it back. But I do like that on those early 911s. I think it looks really cool.
Yeah, it's used very sparingly. Like if you kind of wanted to mess with your car just for the fun of it, you go buy a Carrera badge and have it gold.
No, I don't want to do that.
Shiny gold. It'd go with the silver car.
I don't want to do that. I really do like it saying Carrera on the back instead of 911. I know some people prefer just to say 911, but I actually like how it's got Carrera. I like how it doesn't have 911. You know, for someone who doesn't know, it's like, is that a 911? Yeah, it's a 911. Do you know what I mean? But it's a Carrera. So is it a Carrera or is it a 911? You forget all these sort of dumb things that we know about that other people who are not into Porsche go. You know, when my niece first saw my car with a boyfriend, I go to the back and I pull the engine and she goes, oh, the engine's in the back.
Yeah.
Like she had no idea. You know, and it's funny how we forget these simple things that we all take as being just common and we just rant on about them day in, day out, and so many people don't know about it. The one thing you didn't mention, the RS door pools, I think you mentioned it to me earlier, but I like that too. You know what I do really like though? And I think it's in the 911R? I like when those bucket seats, the racing bucket seats or lightweight bucket seats are in the tan, how the interior is black, but the seats are tan, and then they have the Pepito. I kind of like that mixture of leather. I don't know what it is about that, and normally it's not something I would like, but I don't know. I think it looks cool. You know what I mean? It's in 911R, I think, isn't it? Some 911Rs have that as an option.
I thought 911R standard was that sort of brown, that natural kind of brown.
Yeah, that's
leather,
the one I mean.
I know the tan that you're talking about. Oh,
no, that's what I mean. How it's got the brown. Yep. No, but it's got brown, but then the dash and that's black, but the seats are brown.
Yeah. It's like a kind of cocoa coloured thing. Yeah, it's cool.
Yeah, which looks really, really cool. The same as that, you know, the interior of the Carrera GT, which is like the one the guy on YouTube has, TGE, has that brown color, whatever they call it, the full brown interior with the black Carrera GT, which looks fantastic. You know what I mean? It looks really.
The only thing I don't like in his car is the steering wheel is kind of like two-tone, which has black and brown.
Yeah, that's a bit weird.
Yeah.
But, you know, I mean, all the details, you know, they're still, you know, drawing on all the history and heritage. I mean, it's going to be interesting, Steve, to see what exclusive manufacturer brings out in the future. I mean, if it is a new sport classic, I think it's going to be pretty cool. What else have they got? What else are they thinking of bringing out? What else are they thinking of doing? Like I said, that Targa, like I said, Porsche, it's always like they don't have you and then they've got you. You know what I mean? And I think it's because I keep seeing it.
They'll get you.
Yeah. They keep seeing it
for
and
sure.
you think, I like it now. I really do like it. GT3, I'm still not convinced.
I hate to say it, but a big part of that is marketing. And these days, marketing kind of encompasses social media and stuff like that. Like you sort of said, you just sort of see it more and more, and then you'll see it in the flesh, and then you'll see cool people kind of, you know, sort of driving around, and all of a sudden you're sort of sold.
But I think it's the color, right? Because going back to just quickly before we leave, you know, the Targa Heritage, that red, don't like it, you know. But now I've seen it in other colors, love it. And I think it's the same with the GT3. Even though I like those early blues, the Riviera blues, the Mexico blues, you know, the Arrow blues.
Yeah, I don't like
that shark blue. I just don't like it. I don't like it in the shape of that car. It just, to me, doesn't work. You know what I mean?
Well, I'm also like a massive speed yellow, signal yellow fan, and I've seen that, you know, I reckon it's deliberate. Like
it looks
Kroninger is sort of sneaky, kind of revealing all these PTS colours.
Yeah.
But the yellow one doesn't. The yellow GT3 doesn't look as good to me as, say, like Chris Harris's car as a comparison.
Really? I thought the signal yellow one that I saw on Instagram in the GT3 looked better than the shark blue.
It does, but I still don't like it as much as, say, like signal yellow on a 991.2.
Yeah, true.
Or, you know, or like a 997 or something, like a speed yellow.
But you know that's not the actual colour of his car. You know he had that topaz skin put on it. He actually had it repainted with topaz skin. It's not actually signal yellow. I don't know what colour it is. I don't know what...
I think it's a different yellow. It's probably something more like speed yellow underneath it, and he had it done signal.
I don't know about doing that paint with that topaz skin. I don't know. It's something worries me about that. I don't know. I don't think I could do it.
Did you Did you see there's a clip on YouTube? The guy, whoever he uses to detail it, worked on Chris Harris's car, so he talks about it.
Oh, does he? I haven't seen that. I'll check it out.
Yeah, I was a bit skeptical about that sort of, painted on the skin color change sort of thing as opposed to a vinyl wrap. But the guy, if you watch the video, the guy that detailed Chris Harris's car recently said that it was actually really quite good in terms of the quality, and you can polish it and buff it, and you can do all those sorts of things. And
it's paint, right?
You do it just like you do with paint.
Yeah, they paint onto clear, almost like painting onto clear PPF in a way, isn't it?
No, I don't know. No? I'm not sure, because TGE did it to his Carrera T as well. Remember, he went from a whatever color, a yellow car to gold.
Yeah, I didn't like that. I didn't like that.
No,
at all.
I didn't like it either.
Anyway. I just want to say, if the listeners haven't actually, I hope we haven't been ranting too much today. I just want to say, if the listeners haven't watched it, have you watched on Harry's Garage how he's got that restoration, the 2 restoration things going? He's doing a Zagato. He's doing a Zagato Alpha, I think.
Right.
From Evo, the guy from Harry, isn't it?
Yeah.
He's doing a Zagato. I think it's an Alpha Zagato, and he's doing a Jaguar. V12 Jaguar, and he's doing restoration. Right. He's doing a restoration thing on both. I watched the videos the other day. They're really, I know it's not Porsche, but if you haven't seen them, I'd check them out. They're actually quite good. It's just interesting to see they take the engine out of the V12 engine out of a Jaguar is like, it doesn't look as difficult as what you would think, but it's still.
What is it, an XJS?
Yeah, it's a 2-door one that he's got. That car that he's had for some time. That he's now he's decided to do some work on it. Yeah. Interesting.
Nice.
All right, mate.
Come on.
Let's end it. It's over.
Yeah.
All right.
It is over.
That was a good one. Thanks.
We hope, as opposed to last week.
Oh, that was a good one. I enjoyed the chat today. I hope all you guys enjoyed it. I hope everyone that's listening enjoyed it. Let us know. Like I said, if you
we can't tell.
Just before
we can't tell. You just sit here and you talk, and you just don't know whether or not it's interesting or not. So whatever.
Before we go, and I forgot to mention it earlier, and I just want to do a shout out very quickly. And I know it's at the end, and it's all out of sync. But we had 2 Apple reviews this week, and like I always harp on about the Apple reviews for the Apple Podcast, and also following the podcast on Spotify, Google, iHeart, Apple Podcasts, etc., helps us get seen in the search results. We had 2 more reviews this week. We had one from Rue, R-O, I think it's Rue 3 Dog via Apple Podcasts, essential listening for a Porsche fan. He's a guy that's reached out to me on Instagram, and if you're listening, I haven't forgotten, he wants to be on Owner Stories, so that I will actually organize that in the future. And then another one from 9974 GTS _KS via Apple Podcasts in Italy, enthusiast talk. It is a casual talk between enthusiasts on all sorts of 911 topics. Sometimes they get carried away, smiling face, yet it's fun to listen. Especially if you have a 911 or about to get one. Highly recommended. So thank you very much for that. Thanks both of those guys for taking the time to give us a review. It really does help us get seen. Thanks, Steve.
Cool, man. Take care. Have a good week.
Yep, you have a good week. Make sure you drive that GT3 fast.
Yeah, I feel like going out today. The weather's nice, so but I've got work to do. I don't know. See what happens.
I can't wait to go for another drive. Stephen that was on the previous Owner Stories. Yeah, Stephen, who was on previous Owner Stories, has got the red Boxster manual. He had a picture on his Instagram, and he'd been down the south coast and done the ride through the Royal National Park. And I said to him in the comments,
when you come home, I'll take you north as well.
I can't wait to do that again. I don't want to go to Putty Road again too.
Yep.
Can't wait to get my roof racks and my roof box. So it's going to look so cool.
I can't wait to hide in your roof box.
All right, mate. Thank you.
See you, mate.
See ya. Okay, everyone. Thanks for listening. That was Steve coming in from Sydney on a very sunny morning there. Thanks, everyone. Thanks for listening, and bye for now.